The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Let's go! What's that? Game time! Game time! It's gonna be a football game tonight now. No doubt. It's gonna be a football game here. Okay. I done been here before. All right, let's go, baby.
Toss to White. He's in! Patriots win the Super Bowl! Brady has his fifth! What a comeback! Watson. Touchdown!
Hunter Renfro. Little man makes another enormous play. 1 second remaining.
Ladies and gentlemen, football to the max.
Your host, Sean Garmer, Gary Vaughn, and Randy Isbell.
Hello and welcome to a football to the max Thursday night football breakdown as the Kansas City Chiefs lost for the second game in a row to the Oakland Raiders in a absolutely wild finish, 31-30. The Raiders possibly have now saved their season. And here to talk about it with me is Mr. Erik Watkins.
The last play, then the play after the last play, then the play after the last play, then the play after that. That's all you really need to know.
Yeah, there was a lot of crazy plays in this game. The Albert Wilson, it went through the guy's hands, but I still kept running and caught the ball. Touchdown. The Amari Cooper finally deciding to show up. Long touchdowns, and one of them was, did he touch him? Did he not? Was it an offensive pass interference? Just, wow. It's a lot you'd expect in a rivalry divisional game here between two teams with terrific quarterbacks and, defenses that have names, but, you would think that there would have been a little bit more defense played. It really felt like an offensive game. It's a game I think it's worth going back and watching because there's so much stuff that happens in this. But yeah, let's talk about this here. The Chiefs, that last drive, the play calling on that was just really weird. And knowing that all you had to do was keep the ball away from the Raiders. You were given a chance to put the game away. You didn't. You gave the ball back to the Raiders. They marched down the field, and it took them forever, but they finally scored the touchdown and got the win. I mean, what do you think about that?
I mean, normally in a typical situation like that, you run out the clock, literally. However, for as bad as the secondary of Oakland reminded everybody that they are, that front seven kept making a hell of a push to stop Kareem Hunt from gaining any significant yardage on the ground for most of the night. So when you're going in with that mindset on the last drive, you figure you have to throw the ball at least a couple of times. But then the Raiders stepped up with kind of this press coverage to just stop the Chiefs from gaining any ground whatsoever. So Kansas City was in between a rock and a hard place on that drive. What could they really do?
Yeah, I mean, you're right about that, but I don't know. I think the whole point is you're trying to waste time off the clock. You never know what can happen. Somebody forgets to tackle. Hunt breaks a tackle who's known for that, especially in the late quarters when he performs much better. I think you kind of have to go with that game plan. That's what you're trying to do. I understand that you're passing because that's been successful, but they're going to try to lock that down in a situation where they know that they have to get the ball back. So, I don't know. I mean, yes, this is very much being in hindsight, right? Because if they would have ran and then they don't take any time off the clock, I guess it would have been the same thing. But, yeah, just some weird play calling there. Is it an offensive pass interference for you on that Amari Cooper first touchdown?
To me, no, because I really didn't even see much of a push. That just looked like a lot of hand fighting. Yeah, the corner fell on that one, but no, nothing that I would have seen to say, okay, that's blatant OPI.
Yeah, I think he was already falling at that point, and then he kind of put his hands on him. You could make the case that he was sort of using him as balance, but I don't think so. I think at that point they went back and thought about it, right? They almost called the foul and they picked it up and said no. So they must have not seen enough there. I think it was a good no call. Amari Cooper getting the touchdown. He goes and gets another long touchdown where he just goes around the defense. And good on him for getting involved, and good on the Raiders for understanding that they needed to involve him again in the offense, because he had just been so not that, just absolutely irrelevant for the past several weeks.
Yeah, completely irrelevant. And then with Kansas City deciding to, and they really even did it later in the game as well, slowly start bringing help and double teaming Michael Crabtree, it's like, okay, you're going to have moments to where Cooper's going to be wide open. Get him the ball. They finally decided, hey, we need to do this again.
Yeah, and then, I mean, obviously one of the big stories is the Marshawn Lynch ejection. He pushed the ref in order to get more, get even more into Marcus Peters' face. Dion tried to make the case that him and Marcus Peters know each other, and he was trying to get him out of the scrum and whatever. I don't know about all that, but I mean, I understand if Dion, knows some history. I don't think he's saying that just to say it. There's got to be something there, but yeah.
You still don't push a ref.
Yeah.
You don't.
There's no excuse for pushing a ref. And it doesn't help Marshawn Lynch when he has the bad reputation, and then you had actually been doing a good job of kind of keeping that reputation on the down low, and then here you come and do something like that, and people are going to be starting to talk about that again. And he was largely not really used. It was between DeAndre Washington and Jalen Richard. Their running game for Oakland really wasn't doing much. It was all about the passing game. I mentioned Amari Cooper. He got 210 yards in this game on the 2 touchdowns as well. Derek Carr, 417 yards in total. Jeez. Talk about coming back.
When you're talking Raiders history, you just witnessed a top 5 receiving game all time and a top 5 passing game all time.
I mean, Alex Smith, obviously not too shabby either. 342 for 3 touchdowns on his end. One of them, the Tyreek Hill for another long bomb. Something becoming of a big specialty for him. Of course, the Albert Wilson one was also a big long, that crazy play. I don't know. It just seemed weird to me that you're usually counting on the Kansas City defense to, make some big stops, and I felt like there was something they were not. The defense was really hurting them in this game.
Well, I mean, in this case, you could say the defense was a little bit battered and bruised after the Pittsburgh loss on Sunday. Short week, so that affects practice, but a lot of times, you've seen this against Houston, You see this even going back to the season opener against New England. Kansas City is much more comfortable getting into shootouts and having the defense make the big stops when they absolutely have to. In this case, they were comfortable with the shootout mentality. It's just the defense didn't make the stops.
Yeah, certainly. And another thing that didn't help the Raiders in their cause is their kicker missing field goals. It started having people talk about Sebastian Janikowski again. And I don't know. Do you think that they stay with Tavecchio here, or because those extra points were so close to not being good either.
I think they would have to stay with Tavecchio at least for another 2 weeks because, yes, Janikowski's eligible to come back week 8, but he's going to need some time to kind of get ready and get back into kicking shape. So you're figuring closer to, week 9, maybe even week 10. So the Raiders are very limited on options, but at the very least, Tavecchio should know that he is on very thin ice.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be careful on whatever's funk you're in. You need to make sure that you get back to being the more accurate guy. You missed a field goal. You had one that was barely in. You could have easily sent it to overtime with that extra point at the end. I mean, that was by the hair, let me tell you. So, I guess we should talk about that. Those final plays there, amazing, just amazing how this game ended. You have the offensive pass interference that pushes things back, right? So I should mention. So you had a Golden Tate situation like with the Lions, where Jared Cook catches a big 3rd down and 11 catch, or was it 4th down? 3rd down.
I think it was 3rd.
Whichever one it was, he catches a big pass. He's all the way down at the 1. His butt hits, and he kind of rolls over. His elbow hits the goal line, but it doesn't go over. But the ball does go over. So they called it a touchdown initially. They go back and review, and they say that he was down before he went in the end zone. So they had to do the whole 10-second runoff thing. So they're down to 8 seconds.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but that 10-second runoff, when they stopped the clock at the end of that play, wasn't it at 16 seconds?
Yeah, I think what happened is that they might have realized that they made a mistake on when to stop the clock.
Okay.
And that they were going to reset the clock anyway. That's the only thing I could think of, because they had to know that it only... I can't imagine they saw that so many times and didn't realize that they messed up on the clock. What I think it was supposed to be 18 seconds.
Okay.
And they left it at 16. They were going to move it back, but they told them to go ahead and do the runoff. So, either way, they had 8 seconds. Michael Crabtree catches a touchdown. You think it's over. Oh, no, here's the offensive pass interference. They go backwards. So, you're at 8 seconds again, or whatever it was, 3 seconds?
3 seconds at that point.
Yeah. And so, here we go. He throws. Oh, he catches it, but he's out of bounds. Oh, defensive holding. Oh, here we go again. Automatic first down. Oh, defensive holding. Again. Yeah, this time was incomplete.
Well, the first one, it was tipped through Cook's hands, then fell. That one was the defensive holding. Then the second time around, incomplete because receiver's second foot was out of the back of the end zone.
Right.
defensive holding.
Yeah, just crazy. And then finally, you have the bootleg by Derek Carr, finds Crabtree. He kneels down in the end zone. They have to review it because his body goes back out of the end zone. And they call it a touchdown. I already talked about the extra point kick barely being in. But good Lord, what a crazy game. Oakland should have been out of it, like I said before. But they fought back. They had a chance previously, blew that opportunity to tie the game earlier or take the lead earlier, and then the Chiefs couldn't hold them. They get the ball back again, and then you had that last drive, and it's a damn good last drive by Derek Carr in that offense. At 2 losses in a row now for the Chiefs.
Yep, what was the last undefeated team? Now they're sitting 5-2. You can't say pressure's on them in the division just yet, but now it's starting to creep up. And now,
the rest of the teams are not doing so hot. So
no, they're not. So it's not the division they have to worry about, but the rest of the AFC. You just opened a mighty, mighty big door. Whereas a win to get you 6-1, you still put yourself a little bit of breathing room going into a mini bye. Now you're 5-2. Yeah, season isn't quite half over yet, but now there are some legitimate questions.
Yeah, and then they have to play the Broncos next week on. Is that Sunday night? Or not next week. They had their bye week, and then on Halloween, or the night before Halloween, they play. It's Monday Night Football against the Broncos, and then they play the Cowboys that next Sunday. They're getting the 10 days off. I don't know what I'm thinking here. They're getting the 10 days off, then they play the Broncos on Monday Night Football. They play the Cowboys that next week. So, with the Broncos, the way Trevor Simeon's been, you'd think that should be a game that they win, but it's another divisional opponent, and, those games are usually tough for them. Von Miller and that defense is going to come to play. But, they got 10 days to game plan and figure this out. But some tough sledding ahead because they got who knows what the Giants are going to be by the time they get off their bye. And then you got the Bills who knows what they're going to be by the time they got off that bye as well. So lots of situations there for the Chiefs. But like you said, right now in that division, things are kind of okay. The Raiders get the Chiefs, or not the Chiefs. The Raiders get the Bills next week, on Sunday. And then they play Sunday Night Football, or is that? Yeah, Sunday Night Football with the Dolphins.
Ugh.
So, and then they get a bye.
And honestly, those are 2 winnable games.
Exactly. Those are games that the Raiders should win and get them back to 5-4 and back into the talks before they play the Patriots in Mexico. So
and again with that one, say they win those 2 5-4, then you have the Patriots, which let's face it have been iffy.
Right.
Yes. Then you go to Mexico. You're more attuned to that because you played down there before. Patriots really haven't. Then you win that one. All of a sudden, you're 6-4. Now, even with what the Chiefs do, you put pressure on them.
Exactly. So, you have to certainly be, if you're a Raiders fan, you have to be happy with this win. You got 2 winnable games next week before you play the Patriots in Mexico. A lot of things could change for them. And I can't say this enough how important this win was, because this would have taken them to 3-5, or what? Yeah,
2-5.
2-5 on the season. Oof. I mean, yeah. I don't think you want to be at that point at 2-5. That's a really big hole you're in. So
Yeah, and at this point of the season, again, at 2-5, you know you're not really fighting for the division. You're at best trying to get a wild card, and even then, that's a scary proposition. But now at 3-4, you give yourself a puncher's chance.
exactly. I mean, they do have to play the Chiefs again. They have to play the Broncos again, and they play the Chargers the last game of the season. So, hey, they got those 3 divisional games left, and they got some tough games left as well. Cowboys, Eagles, Giants. So nothing is given to them right now for the Raiders. They got to come really take it, and can't be relying on the refs every game. You're not going to get things like that. They could have easily lost this.
Mm-hmm.
So, right? Anything else you want to say about the game here before we?
Yeah, the refs. Oh, good lord. Just wow.
What about them?
I saw some very sketchy, kind of some bad calls. Not so much for the ones that were made, but there was a couple of big ones that I think the referees missed that, I don't know. That seemed a little bit, I don't want to say sketchy in the wrong way, but sketchy.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, there was a lot of fouls called in this game. Ones that changed the game, right? The one that wasn't, the iffy one that could have gone either way, that wasn't called on Amari Cooper's first touchdown. Several ones that the one that they called on, or the one that they called on Peters that gave the Raiders the really good field position. The one that they kind of didn't, the one that they didn't call for the Chiefs, and there was a lot that could have gone either way, but I think at the end of the day, yes, I think you can say you don't want defensive holding and all that extending the game by two extra plays. But hey, if you're gonna be holding, they're gonna call it. So
Exactly.
I mean that's on you as part of the defense to make sure you're not doing that. But yeah, this is a ridiculous, crazy game. Certainly one for those Thursday night record books. I mean, we've had some really fun games on Thursday night. It's not been the snooze fest that it's been in the years past. So yeah.
I'm giving the league a teeny bit of credit because we've had a couple of real classic games this year, but I'm still on note and saying as a whole, the average ain't so good.
All right, the average isn't so good, but let's see what happens. I mean, we still got a lot of games left. Let's see what happens with the rest of this Thursday night schedule. That being said, the one next week, woo, Ravens and Dolphins. That's going to be an interesting one to watch for sure. But all right,
Interesting. Right.
we will be back in just a little bit on a different feed or not a different feed. It'll be a separate show to talk about the rest of this week and preview it, talk about the rest of the games and some news as well. So if you like what you heard here and you want to listen to the other show, you sure can. It'll be in all the same places you already heard this one. If you hit subscribe to Football to the Max, You'll get everything we do, which we try to do I didn't even mention this. Sorry for not doing a show on Monday, but we all had things that came up, and it was going to be very difficult for us to do the show. And then, like, you miss a show, and you already feel like you missed a lot. So, yeah, it feels like I don't even know what's been going on in football for missing that Monday show, but we will try to get to as much as we can, and of course preview and do college picks and everything else on the regular episode. So until then, guys, thank you for listening. We appreciate it, and we'll see you later.
Peace.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.